Hey, and welcome to Mind Power Meets Mystic. I'm Cinthia Varkevisser, your spiritual shit disturber and intuitive integrity coach, and Mind Power Meets Mystics Mystic. My pal and mind power hypnotherapist Michelle Walters is out this session so that I can hog up our guest all to myself. And this week's guest is my friend and colleague, which is kind of a crazy thing to say, right? Aaron Gonzalez. Aaron Gonzalez and I have known each other for about a decade, and he has done many amazing things. And right now, he is producing his own spiritual um, fairs, correct? And
Yes,
we're going to talk to him about this transition from all the work that he's done to this spiritual fair, which is called what, Aaron?
spiritual WTF experience or spiritual what the fuck, as everybody likes to say.
Yes. So thanks so much for being on the show, Aaron.
Thank you for having me. I am excited to be here and talk about my journey.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. We've been talking a few times already about, well, not just talking about, we've been doing these Instagram lives and having a fucking great time doing it. At least it is for me.
Yeah, same.
And yeah, these quick things that are supposed to happen end up being an hour long. So it kind of makes sense just to, instead of having it always on your side, to have you as a guest as well.
Oh,
Right.
it's nice
Okay. So,
to be on that end actually too. You just come in and no planning.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of being a guest. So let's talk about how we met and how this relationship started. Kind of cool, right?
Yeah. I actually remember I feel like I was just telling someone this just like this past week. But I remember actually the first time I met you was the second time I went to what is it? I keep wanting to say Angel Light for You in bookstore in Berkeley.
Okay.
And you were the second person I'd ever gone to for a reading. I don't remember much of what happened with the reading, but I remember you had asked me, you're like, hey, come back. I have a 2 o'clock class if you want to, stay. It's just an hour and a half away or whatever. And I was like, I'll let you know, which is usually like, or like my symbol for, or my phrase for like, probably not, but I'll, gentle decline type of thing. And I went and had lunch down the street. And as I was eating, I was like, you know what? I'm going to check it out. And I came back to the class and I remember everything you described after we did whatever we did. I remember feeling it and doing that. And I was like, wow, do I have a gift? I've always been interested in metaphysics and stuff. And I think ever since then I was kind of hooked. Um,
Yeah. So Angel Light Books is it's a great place and it's shifted. So I'm sad that I'm not there anymore. But what I was doing is I was doing a series of classes, like three sets of classes, three session series, and you caught one of them. I
yeah.
wonder which one it was because we've done a few, right?
So what it was is I remember you were doing something where we were connecting to some sort of guide or healer or something. And what I remember, and I remember this vividly, there was this green energy that came in through the back of my head or like the back of my neck. And like all of a sudden I just felt it kind of come, into me in a way. And then I was getting information for the person I was reading. And then you told us, release it, blah, 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 whatever it was. And like I remember whatever I said to this person, you were just like, oh wow. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. This is my first time. I'm just saying whatever came. And I just remember you were just kind of like, that's bold to say. And I'm like, what am I doing? But here I am 10 plus years later. And it was fun. And I think because you were doing classes there for a good 2 years. And I think I was probably taking, mostly took your classes. I tried a few others, but none of them really resonated with me. And I liked the way, you were, kind of like let's involve life, let's involve like practical experiences. You're going to walk into a room, how do you set your boundaries in the room? You're going to, you're trying to clear your energy of your house, which is one of my favorite activities, where you draw the room in a piece of paper, and you just fill it out, and that's how you kind of know where things are stuck and all of that stuff. So I had a lot of fun with all of that.
Yeah, that was great. That was remote space clearing. And really it was about taking a look at people's spaces and seeing how you can help them remove, reuse, or recycle. And there was something else.
Yes,
So
that's right.
that, right? So you either got rid of it, oh, release, release, replace, or recycle. So that you could either have them put it in a different room where the energy serves it better, got to get rid of it, or you use it for something else. You know which one I remember you in? I remember you in, it was actually a form of psychometry. So everybody brought something of their own from the class, and you had pictures.
I remember that one, and Arlen had mine. And
Yeah, it was so
yeah,
funny.
I remember
And
that.
yeah, that was a really good one. Because it was about, again, it was another, I think that was a part of the same series,
I think
right?
so. Yeah,
Release
because
it.
it was. I think it was the next class after that. And I had some pictures. I think I don't know if I brought more, but I know I brought pictures. I think with an X or something. I don't even know why I kept them. And I was like, I don't need them. And Arlen said she ended up taking them, and she's like, I burned those pictures for you. I was like, oh damn,
Is,
okay.
isn't that funny? But it was, the nice part about it is
Yeah.
that person who gave the reading for you, they took responsibility so that you could just hand it over and then be done. And
Yes.
because they don't have that emotional attachment, it's not that big of a deal. That was actually a really fun class. Another class that I thought was a lot of fun, especially for you, although for some people it's a little bit hard, was the bullshit class.
I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah. It was hard. It's hard too because you're kind of like being called out, and you're like, well, really? And and then you kind of think about it and you're like, okay, you're right, but you don't really see it until it kind of gets called out. But it could be harsh. It could be harsh. But I had fun with it. I was excited for it. I don't think I took it too personal, but I was like, ugh, you could feel it in your gut, where it kind of is like, they're turning that knob inside to say like, nope, that's not right, trying to peel
Yeah.
the layers off and stuff. So I liked it.
I think that's who you are. You like that in, well, because the famous story between the two of us,
Yep.
right, is because I was doing quick 15-minute readings there at the bookstore, is that you came in, you sat down with a sigh. Okay, time for an ass kicking. And
And I
it hurt.
did
I
that
won't say it
multiple
hurt my
times.
feelings. What's that?
I think I did that multiple times, more than just, at least I know I did it more than once for sure. So like, yeah, yeah, or if not, no, I'm sure I said it to you, but I know for sure I was like, I would talk to like my friends, whatever, and be like, okay, I got to get another ass kicking, let me go talk to Cynthia. So it was really funny. I mean, I enjoyed it, and it was nice to know I wasn't the only one to say that after a while when you finally
Oh my
told it later.
God.
So I was,
Yeah.
but so I think
Well,
it was good though. It helped me because I needed directness at the time, and I think I was very stubborn, and probably still am, but I was very stubborn then. So
well, I mean, we're both really strong-minded, right?
yeah,
So it makes sense, and it makes sense why it was a really good fit for the two of us. I'm trying to think. There was that, then there were a couple other classes that we had done that were a lot of fun.
it was what at least 2 years we did it at the bookstore, and then afterwards, I think I got into like really into like work, so I didn't do it as much. But then once COVID hit, I think you started doing the other classes that I really liked, and oh, the one that I really like, and to this day, it's still hard for me is the chakra. Is it chakra talk?
Chakra talk, yeah.
That one's a challenge. I really like it though. I like it because it's like such a struggle, and then I'm trying to like mentally figure it out, and then emotionally and energetically, and it's just like, oh, how do I say this? And I have tried using that when I've done readings in the past. I think one time I think I told you about this. I was doing um, it was like the speed readings at the Benicia store, and I ended up having this older lady where I'm just reading her, and all of a sudden I see this energy of a little girl, not realizing it was, a little girl that had passed along like 30, 40 years ago that was there, and she just had all this guilt. And I'm thinking, crap, okay, chakra talk. How do I talk to her? How do like don't compassion? Because I'm like this was maybe like 5 years ago, so like she's much much older than me, and so I'm like trying to console this older woman and trying to be as gentle as I could, and like at the same time giving her the message, trying to make sure I gave her the message with like as much compassion as I could, because we know how that
Mhm.
works for me, and then and then also like telling myself like, okay, be gentle, coaching myself, giving her guidance, receiving the message, trying to interpret all of it. And it was probably one of the most memorable readings to date that I've had because I had to like check myself as well as make sure, she was getting what she needed and trying to deliver the message in an appropriate way for her to receive, which I think I did. And it sounded like, but it was just hard mostly, I think, because she started crying. And I was like, what do I do with this? So
Right.
I just was like trying to be as gentle as I could.
No, that's brilliant. And so the thing that, first of all, let's talk about what chakra talk is. So chakra talk is recognizing that people speak or communicate from one specific chakra, sometimes two, but mainly one. It may not always be the same chakra that you communicate with. So, how is it that we can open up our communication skills so that my chakra can connect with your chakra, and then your chakra can make that reciprocating connection, and then we have communication, and then we elevate that conversation from chakras to spirit, right?
Yeah.
So it's a, I know it's a big long process, but it's actually really cool because well, let's just talk about us. You and I don't always speak from an emotional place,
Hmm.
right? That doesn't mean that our emotional chakra isn't working, but right? But we come from just a different space. And so by seeing what chakra they come from, we can be really mindful of what words to use or how to approach that person based on the chakra that they're communicating with. And so bravo to you for doing one medium work because a girl came through,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then two, there's, grief work happening because obviously that person sitting in front of you had been holding on to it for decades, right? And
Yeah.
then three, yeah, is chakra talk. So that's a lot of stuff. And it was great because it's a great story because you were completely in service to that person.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the thing. Well, you know me, like it was I had to completely remove myself because I'm like, this is a serious thing. Like this is like work that I mean, I kind of knew you'd get there, I guess, but like I didn't process it until I was in the moment of it and actually telling her like whatever I needed to tell her. And it was one of the, like I said, I probably will never forget that because even to this day, I tell that story at least a couple times a year to someone new. And it's like one of my experiences that kind of told like taught me like this is some real work and I like to have fun with it and play around, but sometimes it's not about that. It's about, like you said, being of service. And so I'm still learning how that works in my own ways and stuff, but that definitely shifted me for sure when I
Right.
experienced.
Yeah, I'm glad you like that. That's actually a one that's the hardest for me to communicate, but I also know it's the most important because if you can connect to someone chakra to chakra, right? Then there's a connection that goes beyond words because there is an energy that goes with it, and then we can shift it up. So, yeah, that was a tough class, but it was a good one. It was a
Yeah.
really good one.
Yeah, I think that would be good for like those like mastermind type of classes or whatever those are called. So, because I think, didn't you end up doing like another series? That wasn't that like a whole series, like six, I was gonna say 6 episodes, excuse me, 6 class series or
It
six
was
sessions.
6 classes, yeah.
Yeah, it was even then it was still hard. I think that needs to have like three or four different like levels of classes or something because it's a good one. I love it, but I think it's a struggle for me.
Yeah, that was well, you weren't alone. It was an ass kicker. And what it showed me was that I was onto something because everybody wanted it and they were having a hard time like really, really figuring it out. And when it did click, it was absolutely beautiful, right? It was absolutely beautiful. But so I love that we're talking about my classes, but I also want to thank you because you helped me on another piece of my journey, which was when I started doing 5D. And that's where we're connecting right now,
Yeah.
right? Is the 5D work, the working with Endura. And I think you were there from the get, right? As part of my um, you know, guinea
Entourage.
pig.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guinea pig part of it. I don't
Yeah, I
remember.
I loved it. I think for me too, because it's been like at least 8 years or so that you started
Mhm.
that. And I remember like when the whole concept of it came up, I was like, what? What does this mean? But I really loved it, the idea of it. I think because you're talking to something different. You're talking to something, that's not in our 3D, 4D world. And I think that's what fascinated me about it. But then also the messages were like quick and to the point. And like I had like I think I told you the other day, I would sit down, I would write them out like because I would record the messages and I would write it out so that way I can look at it and like process it and like really try to instill them into me. And I think a lot of the, the choices and things that I've done has definitely shifted because of a lot of the 5D messages and guidance. And yours as well, of course, I come to you when I need stuff also, but I was like, I loved the 5D. I don't know. And I still to this day, I'm like, let's do it because it's, you don't have to sit there for like, ever to like for them to just be like, this is what you're doing. This is what you can do to improve. This is what's, blah, 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 whatever the message is. And it just resonates with me a lot. And so I'm always like 5D, let's do it. Let's do it. It's great. And of course sometimes I'm scared to ask some questions because I don't want to, I don't want to get the maybe I don't want to say I don't want to get the message. I'm not probably ready to confront some of it, so I don't ask sometimes. Now with all the years of experience that I've had, especially with those repetitive 1 minute long responses of the same 5 words or whatever it
Yeah.
was. And they're like, you're not understanding, and we've told you this. Here it is. Boom, boom, boom. The same thing. So that was hilarious. That's it. That was a good one. I think they have a humor as well. So
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I mean, the fact that is it okay if I just say what the
yeah,
message
actually, yeah.
is?
Go ahead. Let people know. Yeah.
I think you asked what's the message for the year, right?
Yeah. What is my theme for the year? Because we would always do that every New Year. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was the message is love, the message is love, the message is love, the message, and it just kept going. And I remember being in fifth dimension and everybody's laughing, and I want to laugh, but I can't break the connection, and I knew I would. And I was like, when is it going to stop?
I
Right?
was shocked. You must have said it at least 15 times. And at first I was like, okay, okay, and a few times, and then afterwards we're just like, oh my God, all right, I guess I really need to understand. And I mean, I'm still learning that too, if I think that's one of my major lessons just in life in general. And so it was comical, like, sometimes our friends will still bring it up to this day and was like, remember that one time? And I'm like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So, I mean, that's got to be a sense of humor. I never really thought of it that way. So there's got to be a sense of humor in order to just like have that repetition that it just kept. And just so you know, I don't think it has happened since. I don't
that's
think that has happened since.
they were
So
probably like, "Ah, this guy, he's just not getting it. Let's go on his level." And I thought it was funny, but it hit. It really hit. Um, and so I loved it, and it's a great story as well. So
yeah, no, it was really good. And we've had a lot of fun doing those things together.
yeah,
The thing that I love the most though is that we've shifted our relationship, right? And
yeah,
that yeah, you came in as a client, and I mean, let's just take it to the next level. Is that I do real estate as well, and I actually helped you right buy your house. But I want to go. We're not going to talk about that. Well, we could, but not right now. So the levels of our relationship have been shifting and shifting, and now I am asking to be at your events, right?
yeah.
So tell everyone where you are, how that happened, and yeah, because it's kind of a miracle, right? It's one of those things where you made like a pretty huge leap.
Yeah, I did, and I even thinking back, I'm like, geez, I don't like I if I'm gonna do something and I really want to do it, I tend to do it as big as I can. Granted, I did pull the reins back a little bit from my first event because I had so many other ideas, and I was like, well, let me tone it down a little bit. And so yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I never thought that I would be, hosting my own events or anything, and that's what I do for my normal like 9 to 5, and so. I decided, why am I going to be, doing all this stuff and working extra hard for, corporates and corporations and things like that? And instead, why don't I just combine the two things that I enjoy, which is where, events and spiritual work kind of came into play. And I was really afraid when I was going to do it. I had this huge fear, and I think I told you about it. I had this big fear of like putting my face out there and, putting in the work, even if I didn't put my face on social or anything, which I'm doing more now. But I ended up doing like a weekend retreat, which was part of your 5D experience with sound healing. And then I went
Right.
to another event, the Woo Woo in the Redwoods, and I did their whole day. I did like 2 meditations. I had some ancestral stuff happen there, and literally the next day, like any fear that I had just disappeared. Like whatever the ancestors did, that event was gone. And so all of a sudden, I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I took a little bit of a minute to decide what it was going to be. And I was like, and everything just went spiritual WTF, spiritual. And I was like, fine, let's do it. Because that's kind of my energy, right? It's like, I'm like, what the fuck, man? I always have those, like, literally the WTF moments I always talk about. They're like happening to me, at least on a weekly basis, if not, multiple times a day. And so from there, I just kind of said, let's do it. And I, created these events and put my trust in the universe. And a lot of times I'll just talk about something or I'm hoping something happens. And like the next day, maybe someone appears or something appears that kind of like guides me to where I need to be. Even when I've had like the doubts of not wanting to do it. Like, because there's been moments where I was like, is this right? Like, should I continue? All of a sudden, like something just presents itself and I'm like, okay, I see you, universe. And so I think it's something where a place where I need to be. And I like it because I didn't expect to create community. I was just
Right.
like, let's just build these events because that's what I know how to do at a corporate level. And I know I've learned that it's a little bit different, or well, a lot different for community style like this. And it's actually really cool for me to be able to see um, you know, people that have just met at my events all of a sudden starting their own things together and doing their own like events and creating more awareness of just like be your true self, be your find your whatever your gifts are, put it out there to the world and be of service and stuff. And so it's a little bit surprising because again, I did not expect that and it's really cool to see and it's just kind of growing from there. And I think my one of my goals is I want to, help people especially underrepresented people share their gifts come and be a part of our event as someone that's in the person of color in the community as well because I've noticed that there's not a lot of representation when it comes to these spiritual events as well and there's a bunch of reasons for that as well which we can probably go into another episode for that but
Oh
um
yeah, let's do it. Let's have another episode for that.
yeah. Oh yeah, I would love to. Oh, yeah, that would be a great conversation because just from what I'm seeing, I've actually had people come up to me and they're like, "Thank you so much for having this event. Thank you so much for representation." At least one time, if not more than that, at every event that I've had. And so I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to help people learn and help them to get out there and face their fears, just like we're doing, getting more into the social world here and I'm going to start doing more on my podcast and on my live streams as well. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think it's something I need to do just for my own sanity and goals, I guess.
Yeah. So let me quickly put in here that your podcast is Intuitive WTF
Yes.
and that Spiritual WTF is really cohesive. We'll start off with your favorite thing, which is there's really good food that lines up. It's healthy, it's tasty, it's delicious, it's robust. Your event is robust. There are talks, there are interactives, there's music, there are services, there is products,
Yes.
there's art, there's so many different things, and it's really amazing. And for an OG like me, I get to see some people I hadn't seen in years, right? So there were a couple of people I was like, holy shit, so seeing Aisha and CJ, I hadn't seen them in a while. And then you had Christy Karate there, who I hadn't seen in a really long time.
Yeah.
And this most fun part was seeing old students going and working their fucking magic, right?
Yeah.
Body work, meditation, products, and you actually do readings yourself and you do Reiki as well. But you found that this is more fun for you right now than the readings are, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, last year I kind of made a goal like, okay, you know what, because I'm getting more into the space, I would at least once a month maybe try and do readings or healings at an event or something. And I did do that for a while. And then things happened and that just kind of stopped. But at some point, probably not anytime soon, but probably later in the year I might get back into that because I do enjoy doing it. And I'm realizing as I'm doing it, it's like you've always taught us, like when you're giving the reading, it's also a reading or a message for yourself. And every one I did, I was like, oh, geez, okay, I get it,
Yeah.
especially when you have a theme of people that's
Yeah.
all the same. I was
It's
like,
the
oh,
theme. It's the
oh,
theme. It's like,
Yeah, and then
Who
the
scares
last one
me?
that happened to me where I had four people in a row. That was the first three were very same theme, and then the last one was the same theme, but she had overcome it, so she was on the next step. And I was like, "Why do I see you like with the staff and you're just like standing your ground?" I said, "You've been working on yourself." And I went into this whole thing whatever I was getting, and she was like, "Oh my God, yes!" And so like even after the reading, we talked for another 15-20 minutes, and like that conversation kind of shifted some things I did because then I ended up going and looking into some of the work she had done as well. Like some breath work she said she did and helped her and some other stuff she did. And I looked into that and I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
see what she did. And so it's, powerful stuff.
Yeah, very powerful. I'm really grateful and I'm so impressed by seeing you transition from student to this masterful person and producer of events and still learning. So why don't
Yeah.
you tell everybody what's going on for your next events so that they can keep an eye on it, and then I'll make sure that it's also in the show notes.
Yeah. So my next event is actually just over a week away, March 30th at Heather Farms in Walnut Creek. So we have so much going on. We have Cinthia here doing 5D channeled messages. So if anyone wants to come and join that, definitely sign up for that. We also have a past life regression workshop as well as a manifesting workshop. We got some free yoga from Yoga 6 of Walnut Creek, as well as we have some live music. We'll have meditations as well as there's something else I'm missing. Sound healing at the end, 4 o'clock. We're going to have a big sound healing that's available for everybody. But again, we have all these healers, all these amazing folks that are right there, willing and wanting to help people heal and vibe up. So if you want to find out more about what's going on, you can visit spiritualwtf.com and let us know you're coming, RSVP. And if you do want to sign up for one of the experience workshops that like Cinthia is hosting, that is a $35 cost for that, but it's a great experience for sure. I tell everyone like the 5D messages really helped to shift my perspectives and honestly probably got me to where I'm at because I'm a stubborn ass. So those
You're
messages
amazing.
definitely helped.
Yeah, you're amazing. Well, listen, it's been fucking awesome hanging out with you. And I wish, well, I don't wish, because we're going to do another episode of talking about the underrepresented, the underrepresented people who are these amazing healers. And and I look forward to our time together at Spiritual WTF. And we'll also talk about ones that are coming up in the show notes so that people, if they don't make it next week, right? That there are others, and they are in the Bay Area,
Yes.
Walnut Creek for right now, and that there will be some others going on.
Yes, we're
So
going to be moving a little bit around the bay. So more so East Bay, possibly Southern, South, North Bay, if that makes sense. But
yeah,
we'll see. I'm finalizing locations right now. So
it needs to happen, right? This needs to happen. This sharing of energy. So, thank you so much. You've been listening to Mind Power Meets Mystic with Aaron Gonzalez of Spiritual WTF Events, and I hope you enjoyed the show, got some nuggets of information, and that we talk again real soon. Bye.